The idea of living forever, it's probably one of humanity's oldest stories. I mean, from ancient myths to legends about the Fountain of Youth, we've always been fascinated with beating death. But what used to be the stuff of fantasy is now becoming a very serious, very real scientific pursuit. And today, we're going to dive into how. This quote from Alan Harrington, it used to sound pretty radical, right? But now, it perfectly captures the mindset of a whole new generation of scientists, futurists, and investors. They don't see death as some grand inevitability we just have to accept. They see it as a technical problem, a bug in our system that can be fixed. And this isn't just wishful thinking. We're at this amazing moment in history where our technology is finally starting to catch up with our wildest ambitions. This has kicked off a global race, with billions and billions of dollars pouring into very different visions for what humanity could become. Each one comes with incredible promises, but also some really profound questions. So that's the big question for us today. If we could actually do it, what would it look like? Turns out there isn't just one answer. Right now, there are two major quests, two dominant ideas that are emerging, and they propose radically different ways to achieve immortality. So let's break them down. Okay, so the first big project doesn't involve uploading our minds to the cloud or anything like that. Instead, it's all about fixing the bodies we already have, from the inside out. The core idea is to treat aging itself, the thing that causes almost every major disease, as a condition that we can manage, slow down, and maybe, just maybe, even reverse. The key concept you need to know here is health span. This is super important. The goal isn't just to add more years to your life, it's to add more life to your years. It's about extending that period where you're healthy, you're vibrant, you're free from things like cancer and dementia, by going after the root cause, the biology of aging. And let me tell you, this is not some fringe idea. The amount of money flowing into this field is absolutely staggering. Just take the Hevolution Foundation, for example. It was set up by Royal Order in Saudi Arabia, and they've pledged up to $1 billion every single year just to fund research into extending our healthy lifespan. And Hevolution is playing this really smart. It's a very practical strategy. They're not just betting on one magical discovery. They're funding a whole portfolio of different research projects to increase the odds of a breakthrough. They want to speed up every single part of the process, from the first experiment all the way to getting treatments out to the public. Now, while that investment is obviously huge, the real accelerator in this quest, the real game changer, is technology, specifically artificial intelligence. AI is giving scientists tools to understand our own biology in ways that were just completely impossible even a few years ago. So, meet AlphaFold 3. This AI, developed by Google DeepMind, is a monster. It's an absolute game changer. Think of life as this incredibly complex machine made of billions of tiny little parts like proteins and DNA. Well, to fix the machine, you need the blueprints, right? You need to know how all those parts fit together. AlphaFold 3 can predict those structures with mind-blowing accuracy. It's like having the cheat codes to life itself. And this is just a massive leap forward. Discovering a new drug can take decades and cost billions of dollars, a lot of it just trial and error. But by modeling exactly how a new drug might interact with a specific protein in your body, AlphaFold 3 could just slash that time and cost, putting the entire field of medicine on fast forward. Okay, so that's the first quest. Let's perfect the biological machine. But the second quest is way, way more radical. It basically asks, why bother fixing our fragile carbon-based hardware when we could just leave it behind? This is the transhumanist vision of escaping biology completely. The main idea here is something called mind uploading. It's the theory that your consciousness, your memories, your personality, the very core of what makes you you, could be scanned, digitized, and then run on a super powerful computer. In effect, you would live on as a piece of software in a purely digital world. So how would this even work? Well, in theory, you can break it down into three enormous steps. First, you'd need a scanner powerful enough to map the exact state of all 86 billion neurons in your brain and their trillions of connections. Second, you'd have to recreate that impossibly complex network inside a simulation. And third, you'd hit run, and your consciousness would boot up in its new digital life. Now, this might sound like pure science fiction, I get it, but proponents like the famous futurist Ray Kurzweil argue it's basically inevitable. He calls it the law of accelerating returns. The idea is that technology doesn't improve in a straight line, it improves exponentially. As you can see, progress just keeps getting faster and faster, which means these radical futures might be a lot closer than we think. And Kurzweil's vision is pretty wild. He imagines a future where our consciousness isn't stuck in one form. You could live in a simulation, sure, but you could also download yourself into a super advanced robotic body or even a physical form made of nanotechnology. The biological body just becomes one option of many. So we've got these two paths, fix the body or escape it. But both of these quests run headfirst into one of the oldest, deepest questions there is. What exactly is the self? What actually makes you, you? This is where the science gets really tangled up with philosophy. You see, these two quests are built on completely different ideas of what a person even is. On one side, you have the transhumanist view, where you are just a pattern of information. Your body is just the temporary hardware running the software of your mind. But on the other side, you have a much older view from thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, that the soul and the body are one thing. You can't separate them. You aren't a ghost in a machine. You are the machine. And this leads us to a classic philosophical puzzle. Let's say mind uploading works not by moving you, but by copying you. A perfect digital clone of you wakes up in the computer, and it thinks it's you, has all your memories. But the original you is still standing right there. So, which one is the real you? Did you just become immortal? Or did you just create a clone while your original self is still going to die? Even a huge advocate like Kurzweil recognizes this problem. He calls it false reanimation. He argues that a simple copy and paste job doesn't work. It doesn't preserve your identity. It just creates a new person with false memories. And that just shows you how deep and tricky this whole problem of preserving a continuous self really is. You know, these aren't just academic debates for late-night philosophy classes anymore. As these technologies start to feel a little bit closer to reality, the public is starting to weigh in. You can go on forums online and find them buzzing with speculation, with hope, and with a whole lot of skepticism about when, or even if, we'll ever conquer aging. And if you look at these online discussions, there is zero consensus. You've got the hardcore optimists who think we'll reach what's called longevity escape velocity. That's the point where science adds more than a year to your life for every year you're alive, really soon. Then you have the deep skeptics who say it'll never happen. And then there's this big group in the middle who are cautiously optimistic it could happen, but probably not for many decades. So the optimistic case, like the one from this Reddit user, really leans hard on that idea of exponential progress. They believe that once we crack artificial general intelligence, or AGI, an AI that can learn and reason just like a human, our ability to solve problems like aging will just explode. We could see results well within our lifetimes. But the skeptical view is just as powerful. For a lot of people, this whole quest for immortality is just a fool's errand. They argue you can't cheat the fundamental laws of physics, like entropy, which basically says that everything in the universe tends towards disorder and decay over time. From that perspective, aging and death aren't a bug, they're a feature of the universe. So, all of this leaves us at a really profound crossroads. We've looked at two huge, monumental quests for a life without end. One seeks to perfect our biological selves, to extend our health span for as long as possible. The other seeks to leave biology behind entirely, trading our bodies for a digital existence. It really makes you wonder, if the choice were yours, which path would you take? Would you stay and fight for the machine you were born into? Or would you upload and escape, leaving your humanity behind for something totally new?